I'm going to call the BUHS number 6 meeting for June 4th to order at 7 o'clock. And before we jump into our normal things, just let board members know, we need to have a quick executive session at the end of the meeting for a personnel matter. So we'll do that after the meeting. Oh, not after the meeting, but after our agenda. Excuse me. So let's move into clerk's report and the approval of the minutes of May 21st. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of May 21st.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections, changes we need to make to those minutes? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
I'll abstain since I couldn't make the meeting.
Absolutely. Okay. Excellent. All right. Are there any other communications that have come to board members since our last meeting? No? Okay.
Well, I would just, at some point, maybe we'll have a discussion of the front page article in the Reformer today about governance change. So if that could come up sometime.
I was going to ask Lyle to tell us what she knew prior to seeing this morning's paper. Like over the weekend, I thought I was going to shoot Lyle an email and ask if she could let us, if she knew anything, what she knew about governance changes and things like that. And then I read the article today. So during part of Lyle's report, she's going to fill us in on what she knows. So look at that. All right, excited for clerk's report. Recognition of group or individual visitors, and for the first time in many meetings, we don't have any groups or individual visitors, so we're going to move on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to enter consent agenda? So moved. Moved and seconded?
Second.
Moved and seconded, great. All right, so let's start with finance, building, and transportation.
Finance, building, and transportation has not met since the last meeting. However, we have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday, the 13th at central office, 8 a.m.
Excellent, thank you. WSESU Finance Committee.
That has not met, but the SU met. I wasn't there. I don't know when that report will come out because I'd like to hear what happened as well. Will you do that, or do you want to do that now?
Katie or Ian could talk about that.
The primary things we did was re-elect officers, table the discussion on the executive committee, and spend a great deal of time talking about advertising on a piece of plastic. Am I missing anything?
Is your board going to have a member on the supervision evaluation committee?
Which board? The Putney board?
No, this BU6 board.
I do not remember if we decided on that or not.
So one of the things we talked about, the VSBA is going to conduct the supervision evaluation this year, and it was decided that each board would choose a member to be on that committee.
Oh, okay. To assist the VSB.
Yep, to go through the.
It was suggested that the board chairs do that unless they were otherwise not able to do it. So the pressure.
If anybody really is desiring to do this, say so. But if not, if I can do it, I'll step up for us. That's fine. Can you just share with me dates or anything?
Sure.
Thanks.
I know.
When you know them, yeah.
And if it doesn't, if you can't do it, I can do it.
Okay, great. Is everybody okay with that officially? All right. Planning and policy.
Have not met.
Okay. I know that, I will say it now, I was not in planning and policy earlier this evening, which was planned to meet, and then Ian, I just found out when I got here that he had a family emergency that he needed to deal with, so he was not there. But one of the things that we talked about the last planning and policy meeting was drafting up some language to become a local board policy in relation to the student voice flag, and having a plan. And the high school staff had spoken about it, and staff and faculty had spoken about it, and had some ideas about some things, and shared that with me. And I took the idea of I would draft up a first draft of that read. So we're going to consider this sort of that first read draft. So I would just pass this around so people can take a look at it. Because the hope is that we look at it now, since we normally don't have a second meeting in June, at our meeting in July would be the second reading of this policy, and then at a meeting in August would be our final reading and adoption of this policy, so that it's in place before the school year starts. And that was a request from the administration to have something in place solid before the school year started. So I was going to share this with planning and policy earlier this evening, but unfortunately I could not make that meeting. But wanted to share that with everybody. So if everybody wants to, from the board, wants to take a look at that over the next month, and we can make additions and corrections, things like that, and changes, and come up with something that works for everybody. So I know that was on the agenda for the meeting. Yes?
When you mentioned Brattleboro Union High School number 6, that's all three entities or 2 entities?
Yeah,
in the school?
that's all three. It's the high school, middle school, and career center.
Thank you.
All right. Teacher Curriculum Committee.
It did meet today at 6 o'clock, and it was actually sort of good, the planning and policy meeting, because we had plenty to do. We started talking a bit about graduation, and talked about the situation where there are bills that are outstanding, and so students don't get the diploma. And we talked a little bit about the free and reduced lunch, and how that plays in, and how it tends to be underrepresented in terms of the kids that really would qualify for free and reduced lunch. And so we talked about that, so the implication. And then we ran through 12, I think, 1% fund requests, tabling one to get a little bit more information, and I think approving the rest.
Great. Excellent. BAMS Committee.
BAMS committee has not met.
WRCC Committee.
Has not met.
Has not. All right, is there anything else for consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed or abstentions? Great. All right. So moving on to administrative reports. Why don't we start at this end with the Career Center?
All right. As far as this week, it's a big week at the Career Center. We have some big events planned. Tomorrow evening will be the National Technical Honor Society induction ceremony at the American Legion. And then on Wednesday, we'll be doing a big event for students up at the Career Center to celebrate the end of the year. Congratulations are in order. For Anthony and Mary Beth Cornell, that were acknowledged at the Vermont State Dual Enrollment Teachers Conference, sponsored by Vermont Technical College and the Community College of Vermont, for doing an outstanding job with the dual enrollment process for our engineering and business programs. So those are the highlights for the week.
Great.
You know, lots of end of the year stuff going on with all of our programs, visiting. Kind of different end of the year trips, but those are the highlights for the week.
Excellent. Thank you.
What do you got to add to that?
No, I just a clarification. The Tuesday, the 5th, is the National Technical Honors,
Yeah.
you said? And then I received one that says it's the honor evening, so that's the same thing. And then the 6th is...
It's like an 11 to 2, event for students.
Oh, during the day?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure there were 2 evening meetings and I didn't have one of them.
You're okay.
Great. All right. Why don't we just get down to BAMS so that Mr. Perrin can introduce the student council members when we get to that. All right. Great.
Hi, everyone. Let's see. Spring sports wrapping up. I believe most of the team's last games were on Friday, at least like baseball and softball, and good season. And one of my favorite, spring sports were always one of my favorites. I've shared that as a baseball, softball kind of person. So good times, a lot of students participating, and everything went smoothly this season administratively. So kudos to Kevin Mayat, our AD, for organizing everything and keeping it running smooth. Let's see, coming events. Friday night is our dress-up dance from 7 to 9 in the gym, and that's always a fun event. And we're doing, Junie Pereira, our parent liaison, is doing a parent evening. So during that time, he'll have organized fun and activities and information for parents. They're going to focus on the vaping, the conversation regarding vaping in schools and substance use. So they also have a bunch of prizes, and it was a nice time last time. So that will go on during the dance, and then I believe he solicits local vendors for donations and kind of prizes to parents who come. So they're nice prizes. Classes, teams are going on trips. A lot of kind of end of year field trips and events happening. Some of the teams are just going to like Lake Spofford, but others, there's a 8th grade group going to Boston and some other local little trips. So those are always fun. Wednesday, the 13th is coming up, is our move up for 8th grade. So that starts at, what did I just say, 6 o'clock on that evening. And so the 8th grade will be done after that event. And the 7th grade will continue until the 19th, which will be a half day. And we'll have field day that day for the 7th grade. Let's see, a couple other things going on. We have Maura Hart coming on June 14th and 15th. Maura is kind of subcontracted through a grant. She works for the Swift Institute, part of the University of Kansas. And she is a great facilitator to have conversations with my leadership team and staff regarding school change and some of the things that we're trying to improve upon. So she's going to spend a lot of the first day kind of soliciting information from staff on areas that we want to improve upon, and then lead our leadership team the next day through tackling some of those topics and creating some more detailed plans on how to improve in those areas. And she's really fabulous and pretty well respected by our staff so far, so looking forward to that work. Finally, I have first and hopefully last resignation this year, Caitlin Campbell, who is a English language, she's a academic support teacher, finishing her 4th year. Caitlin will be taking a position over at Green Street School as a 6th grade classroom teacher. So we're going to be losing Caitlin. I don't believe it requires board approval because she is not under contract with the academic support positions coming through federal funding. So I believe that would just be an FYI, but she's been valued member of our school community, done a lot with student leadership, organized and all of that. She's Project Feed the 1,000 kind of things through student leadership, active on our school leadership team, so done a lot with student data, so she'll be a big loss. We're starting interviews right now, so that's all.
Could you reiterate what the position was? I'm sorry.
Academic support. So she does small group math and English language arts skills. Any questions? All right.
Let's move to the high school.
Okay. So I guess first I want to introduce student council. And I have to tell you, in the short time I've worked with the newly elected student council leadership, I have been very impressed with their thoughtfulness, with their thoroughness, and their attention to detail. So I'm going to let Amelia take it away and talk about what you guys have been doing. And
all right. I am Amelia. I'm the student council secretary. Our most recent event, you could call it, was the bake sale we held just this past Thursday. We are working on raising money to paint the track sheds next year, as well as putting flower pots out, hopefully so they're there for this coming fall. Along with that, the Thursday before, we held a student administrative pizza lunch during the Long Block ACE. There we discussed the future of proficiency-based learning for next year, with a focus on, as opposed to having arguments about whether people want to see this, more of a constructive response towards how they would like to see this progress. We've been collaborating with the yachts team, which is the youth and
Teens and adults transforming schools together.
that is what that is. And they have focused on proficiency learning this year. So they were very helpful members of that discussion. We had a pretty good turnout, probably 35 students altogether. We also discussed the long block ACE for next year, if we want to see that happening. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
I
This
don't
is
really.
Emma.
I'm Emma. I run social media for student council.
So, we've had administrative lunches for many years, and when we met, last week, it was clearly a different vibe. Not that people have done a bad job previously, but just the level of preparation that these folks did, and the level of concern, the cogent questions they asked, and just the way you guys facilitated that meeting was phenomenal. It was great to watch them do that and just kind of take the room over and run a great show, so thank you.
Thank you.
So
Welcome to the board, and thank you for coming.
And we hope you come next year, because you're not graduating this year.
No, I got 2 more years.
Because it's always great to hear it straight from students rather than filtering through other people.
Definitely.
So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're making a much stronger effort now to come to all of these meetings. We're having different members go, and we've been deciding the Wednesday before that coming Monday, so
Yeah, we have meetings every Wednesday morning.
we hope to see that continue.
What did you think about the long walk? I mean, do you think kids ate lunch longer, or do you think they were more apt to use that time?
I think it was, I would say overall, the student body really liked it because there were, first of all, students were able to discuss with teachers on more individual levels if they had issues in the class, because it wasn't set as you have to have this many students in your ACE because everybody has to have somewhere to go. It was more you were called back to that ACE if you really needed help. And that way there could be one-on-one support with the teacher directly talking to that individual student with what they need. Beyond that, there was also the students who did not need that direct help were able to have a much longer and more relaxed lunch and also get a lot of energy out because we were able to walk around the track or just eat outside, and it was really nice. I mean, we did discuss how would this look in the winter, obviously, without that outdoor space, but the general student sentiment, I think, they really liked it, including myself.
It was the last 3 weeks or thereabouts?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
There are definitely some touch-ups that could be made, but I think it went pretty well overall.
It was student input directly to the administration and to us, and from the one of the 1% fund projects this summer that we do does have student input on proficiency-based standards.
Yeah.
So I know that the administration is really interested in hearing from you. And I'm a teacher. I teach at UMass, and to me, having student input always
Yeah.
helps me know
Yeah.
what I should be doing. So keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barron.
So what I provided for you is our current end-of-year schedule, and my assistant actually added a few things at the bottom. The things that are highlighted are the things those are the public events. Beginning this Sunday with Baccalaureate at 6 o'clock in the BAM's multipurpose room. That's a great, I don't want to call it spiritual, but it's a great reflective time where people from the class sing songs, their speeches given, people do testimonials about their experiences at BUHS. It's a really nice event. It doesn't have the pomp and circumstance of graduation, but it's a chance for kids to really share what they've done. And we've been doing that, I want to say since about 2007 or 8. It's become a nice tradition. Tuesday the 12th, grades 9 to 11 underclass awards will be block 1 in the BUHS gym. We're not going to have block 1 classes that day, and then seniors will report for block 2. This is the seniors' last full week of school, actually, because senior exams will be Wednesday and Thursday, the 13th and 14th. We've asked teachers who have a majority of seniors in their class but have underclassmen in those classes to let underclassmen take those exams early. So if it's a photography 2 course and there's 18 seniors and 3 underclassmen, just give the exam that day. So, and teachers are working that out, and they're letting parents know if their exam schedule is different. That night at 7 o'clock will be senior awards night in the BUHS auditorium. That's a chance to see the honor that our local community and national community gives to our students. Awards, everything from the Boston Red Sox give an award. Dustin Pedroia will be there. No, he won't. But everything from that to the Broadwood Grange. We get awards from all over, and it's great to see our students get recognized for their body of work for 4 years. And then Friday at 6:30, there's that little thing called graduation. We're getting ready for that. Mr. Davidson will be up on the podium with me and with Ms. Holiday, and so we'll have a good time there. Right now, the weather forecast looks good. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to jinx it. Also, this Thursday, it's not on here, is the Music Awards night. Will be this Thursday. That's a chance for the music department to honor everybody for the work they've done. At the same time, the Elks is also doing their Student of the Month dinner. Every month, they have us select a student from 2 from the high school and 1 from the Career Center, Student of the Month for contributions to the school community. And there's a recognition dinner, and that's this Thursday at the Elks Club. That's a nice thing. The Elks have been doing that for about 4 years. It's a fantastic tradition. Gene Whitney, who's a former math teacher here, who is an Elk, does a great job of organizing that. And so we look forward to that every year. Last Thursday, our VPA, our Visual Performing Arts Academy, held their senior showcase afternoon, and we had everything from Cassie Dunn talking about her 4 years as a VPA member in acting, to Chaim Savell talking about his experiences working with the glassblower in Putney. It was an amazing event, and we're going to make sure that it's advertised wider next year. But the mentors came, parents came, the students presented their work. It was a wonderful thing. And Karen Ternosky, who is running the VPA, she's the coordinator, deserves 90% of the credit for that, along with the teachers who, like Steve Rice, Bob Kramsky, Elise Wadsworth, have really opened their classroom and their hearts for these kids to really explore their passions. So it's nice to see the VPA Academy is just taking off that way. So, in Chinese, Gideon May, who graduated in 2016, you may remember Gideon from a couple of years ago. Gideon actually, he's studying Chinese at Tufts, started that work here at BUHS and has continued. He actually came to visit Haiyan Hu's classes and spent some time with them talking Chinese, talking about the importance of Chinese and what it's like to major in a language at a college. So that's been a really great event. And so he came, and the students interviewed him, and they might have had some Chinese food as well. This week, the math department is welcoming Lionsing Architecture to come in to advanced math classes to talk a little about math careers and architecture as a career. It's kind of neat to see that going on. That's going to run concurrently with some work that Dan Braden's been doing with the STEM Academy along that, bringing in local employers to kind of talk about what's going on and careers that can work here in our community that use BUHS coursework. On the 25th, I have a question for you before I tell you about this. So at Six Flags, there's a ride called Crazy Cups, and it's one of those things where you spin around and around and around and around. You know, like the teacups. So my question to you is, it's such an intense ride because it consistently changes the rider's position, direction of motion, and speed. Therefore, riding the Crazy Cups causes the rider to continuously do what? And it's not throw up.
My first class.
We did this when we went to Six Flags.
This is from the Six
was
Flags
another
trip.
question.
What's the answer? You don't remember.
What was it?
Okay. So the answer is accelerate. So you're always changing direction, accelerating. So maybe you should fill in, but Jenny McKay and Aaron Hillo took a group of students down to Six Flags for their Physics and Rides Day. And they went down there and they spent the day, well, Emma, go ahead. What'd you guys do?
Well, the first part of the day was like a relay race. So you get to where you have the orientation, I guess, and then they would give you a hint, and it was like, say the hint is like Gotham City or something, so you'd be like, oh, it's Batman. So you'd go to the Batman ride, and there they'd have a question for you, like the one that Mr. Perrin read, and you would have to answer the question to get the next hint to go on to the next question. And there were like prizes at the end. It was fun. It was all like math and science based, so it was like cool to run around and try and find the answers to these.
Were you ever allowed to go on rides?
Oh,
Or they
yeah.
just taught you
The relay was not that long, so then the rest of the day we had on the rides.
So that's kind of a cool event. And Jenny McKay spearheaded that trip, and they're looking to make that an annual event now. And I think everybody came back and said they had a great time. They really enjoyed it.
A lot of fun.
Though we didn't learn about accelerations, I guess. But that's okay. So.
Some of the questions were hard.
Yeah, so I'm going to pass this around. This is one of the question lists, so if you want to take a look at that and test yourself, I won't make you take the whole test, but it's kind of fun stuff. As student council mentioned, we did our long block ACE trial, and I'm in the middle of surveying students and staff about their experiences. In general, students had a really good response to it. I'm going to share those responses once we get them all collated and put together, and then make a decision whether or not we're going to do this next year as our schedule. We don't really know yet. We want to kind of see. There's certainly some pros and some cons to it. A lot of students really liked the idea that they had block 1 and 2, and then they had an hour to kind of choose what they were going to do, whether it's work with the teacher, whether it's socialize, whether it's work alone, whatever it might be, and then to start block 3 and 4 almost feeling refreshed. So that was a good thing to see. We'll see where it goes. I don't have enough to say.
Is that what you mentioned in the last meeting, the free time?
Yes. Yes.
So it's called the long block?
Yeah, we call it long block ACE, because we took ACE and lunch and combined them into 1 hour long period.
But it is a free, I mean, it's a student driven activity.
It's student directed to a point.
Okay.
The student, go ahead.
Yeah, so normally what we were doing is for ACE block, we would sign up at the beginning of the week in our advisories with the teachers, and we'd have to be somewhere for every ACE, and that was later in the day, before 4th block, and our lunch was only 20 minutes and separate from that, in the middle or beginning or end of 3rd block. So this splits the day in half. So after block 2, if a teacher has scheduled you or you've chosen to be scheduled with the teacher for either the first or second half of that long block, you will go in and talk to them, do whatever work you need. And when you go in, first or second half depends on the department the teacher's in. So like science will have one lunch and math will have another. So does that answer your?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives you quite a bit of creativity,
Yeah.
what you're going to use for that hour.
Right.
Flexibility.
And, pursue things that interest the students personally.
So the big question is, we were blessed with great weather for the past 2 weeks. So we could go on the track, we could go on Tenny Field. There were some Frisbee games out there, some flag football. Kids were having, they were enjoying it. They were talking to each other. The question is, what do we do when it's 9 degrees below zero and snowing? What do we do? Because we obviously can't go outside and burn off that energy. So,
Fox and geese.
there you go. So we're kicking around some ideas about what we might try to do during that time. One suggestion was that student groups sponsor an activity a week. So it might be the Can-Jam tournament sponsored by student council, or it might be chess club sponsors a tournament. And so you have that activity running concurrently. I asked some students about that, and they were really honest. They said, that sounds really fun, but I really just wanted to have lunch and then hang out with my friends. So,
Yeah. We're finding that the issue with if we don't have good weather is the high school doesn't really have somewhere allocated for students to go and just hang out indoors. like we kind of have the senior lounge, but there would still be certain students around that area who needed to work with teachers. So where you can be loud besides the cafeteria and, I don't know, comfy chairs, just hanging out kind of thing, so.
So the trial was worthwhile. We have to kind of see where we go next. We had 6 sports teams start the playoffs, and it was great. We have several teams left. And girls lacrosse on Saturday won an incredible 8-7 double overtime victory against Rutland. They will be playing Wednesday at home at 4:30. And so if you can make that game, that would be great. And baseball on Friday afternoon, a come from behind 5-4, bottom of the 7th 2-run win over Essex, and they will be playing tomorrow at home. So we're proud of those teams, and as they're moving on, we hope they continue to do well. Also over the weekend, Kai Boyd, senior Kai Boyd, won the Vermont State Championship for javelin for her 2nd year in a row. So if she has the stick, don't get in front of her because she may throw it. She is incredibly proud of herself, as she should be, and it was great to congratulate her. She's done a fantastic job with javelin. And also, Jasper Reed is the Vermont State Champion in long jump. And not only is he the state champion, he broke a Vermont state record that had stood since 1969. So, a great job. Jasper is on cloud 20. He's way beyond cloud 9. He's really proud. I asked him how he did. He goes, I don't know. His first jump, he's like, it was okay. But he did a great 23-foot plus jump. So congratulations to Jasper. And he also won the 100-meter dash. But that too. So it's great to see that. We had a lot of athletes, and actually I can pass this around as well. Kind of a summary of where athletes placed in that. We had a lot of 3rd place, 4th place finishes, so a lot of good stuff happening there. Last but not least, I am pleased to recommend a position. Ms. Renee McIntyre, I'm recommending her for the math position that was vacated by Ryan Connors. Renee earned her Bachelor of Education from Castleton State College in May of 2006 and got her Master's of Education from Castleton in 2012. We had 4 candidates apply. We scheduled 2 for interviews on May 24th. The interview committee was Mary Kaufman, Brian Waddy, and Michelle Cage. I would ask that we appoint Ms. McIntyre to that position for the next school year.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And could you reiterate the discipline? I'm sorry, I didn't get it. What
Math.
Math.
Yes.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
What is second? All in favor?
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, so
Thanks.
moving on to central office.
So I want to piggyback on Drew a little bit. I also was able to attend the dual enrollment day in Randolph, and Tom Yon was also recognized for his many years of working to increase dual enrollment opportunities for our students here. So it was a very nice honor and a great surprise for Tom. So to see Tom, congratulate him.
It just came through at 7:23 for me, so thank you for adding that.
The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the Act 46 update. On June 1st, as you know, the Agency of Ed was required to have their statewide plan submitted to the State Board of Education. This is the plan. It's 189 pages long. I will tell you that I have not read through the whole thing yet, but I have read through the portions that are WSESU. So I will pass that out. Let's see. So you have to remember that this is the State Board, the Agency of Ed's proposal. The State Board has the final say. The State Board is meeting in June for their retreat. That is an open meeting, so people who are interested may want to go and talk about how they feel about this proposal. And then the state board is also planning a series of meetings throughout the state, and in the north of the state in July, the center of the state in August, and the southern part of the state in September, so that the state board can hear people in those areas, any concerns that they may have. If you look through this, just to let you know, BU6 is referenced in here, though there is really not, I mean, you're the sending school and schools for the area schools, so that's why you're here. But there is a section for Brattleboro Elementary, for Dummerston, for Putney, and for Guilford. And it talks about the Secretary of Education's discussion, the proposal, and then when you get to the very end on page 36 of this is the statement that says the Secretary believes that the best means of meeting Act 46 goals for each district individually and for the region is for the State Board of Education to merge the governance structures of Brattleboro Union High School District, Brattleboro School District, the Dummerston School District, the Guilford School District, and the Putney School District into a single unified union school district that provides for the education of its pre-K-12 students by operating multiple schools. So that is their recommendation to the State Board. You might say, what about Vernon? So Vernon is actually in a different section of very, very near the end. If you go onto the Agency of Education website, you can get the full report. That's enough. So there are some town school districts throughout the state that the Secretary does not propose a state board merge, and Vernon is part of that. You may remember that Vernon had taken their proposal to the State Board of Education in the past, I can't remember when it was, maybe last fall. The State Board agreed that they, in order to keep school choice, would need to be separated from the BU6 school district. So that happens as of July 1 this year. They will not be a part of the BU6 school district. They will continue to be a part of WSESU until June 30th of 2019. And again, if you look at page 188 of 189 in this document, it does talk about if the state board decided that they wanted to adjust boundaries for the supervisory unions, assigning Marlboro to Wyndham Southeast or Vernon to Wyndham Central or Wyndham Southwest. So there is still a chance that Vernon will be assigned to a supervisory union other than WSESU. So I'm not sure if you have any questions about this one. Sorry, I had something else to.
I was wondering about the timeline. I mean, it says that, accordingly, the one that you read on the back of this page, and it sort of lays out how the governments would, what it would be, but there's no mention of a timeline.
So they have to, the state board has to have made its decision and created its final plan by November 30th, 2018. And then we have until July 1, 2019 to put that plan into place. Part of what that will include will be articles of agreement, which could include articles as were suggested by the original study committee, but it could also be something completely different. The state board may decide that they want to create their own articles of agreement. Once they're given to us, we will have the chance to adapt them to fit our needs. The other thing that the state board will have to tell us is how we're going to form as a board. For instance, how many members, representatives from each town, if that's dependent upon, will be dependent upon population. So there's still things that we don't know because the State Board of Education has it in their purview to make those decisions. But by November 30th, the State Board is supposed to have a final plan.
And the plan does not have to follow exactly what the recommendation of the,
That's correct.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as BCTV cameraman, could I ask the superintendent a question?
Sure.
So when did this Agency of Education document sort of become public?
June 1st, it was probably 5 o'clock-ish. I was looking for it throughout the day. It was, actually, I was at the baseball game before I saw it, so that was definitely 5 or after.
But presumably as a superintendent, they had sort of let you know this was sort of, did they have a sort of a timeline when they thought they would
Yeah.
deliver the document?
Yeah, everybody knew that it had to be done by June 1st. That was part of statute, that
Okay.
they had to deliver this by June 1st.
Okay.
They
And so,
didn't give an exact time.
and then the sort of author of that would be the Secretary of Education and whatever staff put it together?
Yeah, Heather Boucher,
Okay.
Acting Secretary of Education's name is on the document.
And then the board that will actually make the final decision, that's...
The State Board of Education.
How many members is that?
I don't know.
Okay. Ricky, thank you for letting me
Sure,
ask
yeah,
questions. I just don't normally do that, but
Anytime. No worries. Does anybody else have any other questions for Lyle or about this process? That we can know, that we do know, think we know?
Well, I'd be interested to know about the structure after November. In other words, from November 30th until June 30th, there has to be a board that would, write up the articles of agreement. So, I mean,
No,
No.
they're gonna.
They're going to give us articles of agreement.
they would
Yeah.
write. So we will see the articles of agreement on November 30th,
We're hoping before that.
2018.
Yeah, we're hoping that sometime, maybe at the end of October, November, because budgets by then are starting, they're well underway.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
we're going to be budgeting as one supervisory district, it's going to look different than budgeting each individual school district. Changing employees so that we're all in one district means changing with the insurance companies. There's a lot of work to be done. To say nothing of having elections for board members that will have to happen in each town. So,
Well, you'd have to have a governing body that
Correct.
would somehow accept, do you accept the articles of agreement? Or not? You sort of intimated that it could be changed.
My understanding is that once we have the governing body, we can look at those articles of agreement and we can say, we could change this so that it would work better for us.
And what's the establishment of that governing body?
That's what we don't know, how that comes to be.
And that's going to be from the Agency of Education?
The state board, it's
state
all
board.
off the agency events plate at this point. It's now
Oh, the state
all
board.
on the State Board of Education.
So those 9 individuals or whatever will,
Make that.
they'll actually have a directive for the SU,
Mhm.
November 30th.
That's the latest. We're really
Yeah.
hoping it's before that.
So it's really condensing everything that was done over a 2+ year period with the study committee will be condensed in from November to June to have everything in place.
Done.
Yeah, Russ.
yeah, if I can ask a somewhat related question, because I'm thinking when you were talking about budgets and how stressed budget people might be. We also learned in the finance committee that there's a change in the software, and we
Yes.
were hoping that it would be put off another year,
Yes.
or has it been put off another year, or will besides having potentially to completely change it in terms of a unified district, will they also have to adopt a new program?
Yes. So Frank sent in the paperwork on Friday and requested that we be in the last group to change to the new system, which is June 2019. So he did that on purpose, knowing that by then we would know what our governance structure looked like, so that we wouldn't have to change and then change. We would change one time.
So the change of the software and the change of the district, if that comes about, would happen at the same time.
Right.
And that's better than doing one of the, I mean, just
Yeah.
get it all over with all at once. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we all have to be really nice to Frank and to everyone in central office. I mean, it's just, I mean, people who've served on budget committees just know the detail that goes into everything in terms of you know, getting not just paychecks, but, you know, ordering the paper and the toner and, wow, okay.
Yeah, there's still a lot of unknowns about this whole thing. We'll just have to wait and find out. We'll presumably all find out together and then go from there. Okay, anything else from central office?
That's it, thanks.
Great, and I didn't have anything for administrative reports, so we can move to unfinished business. And the first thing under unfinished business is, well, the only thing under unfinished business is two additional reads on policies. One is E11, the Federal Child Nutrition Act Wellness Policy. And the other one is F34, the Transgender and Gender Creative Student Policy. I know there's some slight changes are going to be made to those. Do people get the copies of those electronically? I know I did, but I'm not sure everybody did.
Primarily removing the recess paragraph on the child nutrition.
Right, but it sounds like with the long block ACE, maybe we need to put it back in. Because it sounds like it's a good time to burn off some energy and have a little bit of fun. But so this is officially our second read for that. I would say between now and our next meeting, if any board members or administrators have anything they want to add to those, please get that information to Ian so we could do a final read at our next meeting and then we'll adopt them at our next meeting. Now moving to new business. First off is, under new business is a summer schedule. So we're going to talk about scheduling a little bit here. Historically, and please board members, if I get this wrong, let me know. We normally only have one meeting in June unless there's something that needs to majorly happen in June. Otherwise, because usually we're looking at, you know, right around graduation, having a meeting, and it's just a little bit too nutty to do that. So this will be our only meeting in June. And then in July, we typically have one meeting, and it's usually the longer meeting because it's sort of a planning meeting for the year. Yes? Everybody following with me so far?
Sometimes we've done that in August.
Sometimes we've done that in August as well. So we do that in August also.
Yeah.
And then usually we plan usually one meeting in August also, sometimes two. Someone remind me, when is school starting next year?
For teachers, it will be Monday the 27th, and students' first day is the 30th of August.
Okay. Okay. So, if that sounds okay to everyone to do no other meetings in June, a meeting in July, one meeting in July, and I would propose that we move that to the third week of July, which is the 16th, as opposed to the 2nd of July, just because of the holiday. If that works for everyone. And then in August, if we did one on the 20th, would that work for administration as far as things go? I know that sometimes the administration is retreating or they're at other things, and I don't want to cut, not retreating in that way, at a retreat. Yeah, I didn't want to cut into any of that time or things that are going
What
on.
day, June?
August 20th.
Oh.
Basically the Monday before teachers come back. Does that work? So does those all work for everybody for meeting time?
I won't be here at all in August, so.
Okay.
So given that, if we could do the big session in July.
July, that'd be better for you?
That'd be my preference,
But otherwise, that works for everybody else for meetings, so we'll do no other meetings in June unless something comes up, and then we'll come together if needed. And then July 16th, and then August 20th. And then in September, we'll go back to our 2 meeting schedule, except for we won't have 2 meetings in September. because the first Monday in September is a holiday. So we'll only have one meeting in September, which will be September 17th. Is that all clear with everybody?
One meeting in September?
Well, unless we schedule a second one at some point, but the first Monday in September, 'cause usually you meet the first and third Mondays. The first Monday in September is Labor Day.
Yeah.
And school had been in session for 2 days before then, so I remember us saying in the past, this has been really good to, school's underway for a few weeks and we can kind of hear how it's gone.
Are you gonna want a budget draft then too?
No, no, we'll wait till the first meeting in October for
So,
that.
What's the September date?
17th.
The 17th.
17.
Does that work for everybody? And then, as always, administration, if there's something comes up that we need to get together for, we can do that. So it sounds like we have a summer schedule. Other than Russ, does anybody have a preference to our longer meeting being July versus August? August works better for you. July works better for Russ. Everybody else seems pretty open for the longer meeting. July or August? Okay. Well, we could
Go with August.
go with August, okay. All right, so we'll go with August for our longer meeting, so let's plan that for a little bit longer. Usually we start around 5 for that, and have food, and then kind of work on plans from there. So why don't we plan 5 o'clock on here, if that works for everybody, on August 20th. And then we'll have food and then go from there. But everybody's good with that? All right, summer schedule. John. Next is the authorization of committees for the summer to handle business stuff. Before we jump into these, I think we missed one on this, which I think doesn't WRCC normally have the same privileges as BAMS
Yes,
and TCC
Because of hiring.
for hiring and stuff like that in summer, so we'll add that one in.
Yeah,
So,
good catch.
yeah, I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, did we do WRCC? I can't remember. So the first one is B, which is authorization of the teacher curriculum committee to make hiring decision during the summer months. Is there a motion?
I move the teacher curriculum committee. Actually, can we add 1% funds? Because there may be some 1% fund. Or does that normally?
You do
that
that.
normally is anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So, yeah,
not
okay.
money.
Authorization for the TCC to make hiring decisions during the summer months.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. The next one is authorization for the finance committee to approve warrants and payrolls during the summer months. Is there a motion? Yeah, okay.
Somebody up there. I move we authorize the finance committee to approve warrants and payrolls during the summer months.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? And next one is authorize the BAMS committee to conduct financial and personnel matters during the summer months. Is there a motion?
So move the
Okay.
BAMS be authorized.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And then the last one would be authorization for the WRCC committee to conduct financial and personnel matters during the summer months. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay, great. So that part is done. So next, we need to see a motion to go into executive session unless there's something else that needs to come. And which administrators need to be invited to that? No, just you? Okay. So is there a motion to go into executive session for a personnel matter with the superintendent?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second? Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That
Is there going
moves.
to be action?
There will be no action.
There'll be no.